Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday to all my lovelies here in the Menopause Wellness Made Simple group. So excited to do today's live. I've been thinking about this one for a while, and what I got really excited about was I'm hoping that it will make sense more than maybe some other ways I could present it. The way I'm going to present it. So if you don't know me well, I'm a big experimenter, and I'm always wanting to try new things in every area, right? I do it a lot with food, but I'm always doing it like, how can I give as much value, give as much help so that people get the most of it, right? So if you've been in my group for a long time, you might have noticed I have way shortened the lives, right? I used to go live for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, almost an hour sometimes. And I could still do that. I have to really rein myself in. But the reason is I know for everybody, it's better when I give you bite-sized pieces, right? It's better when, because it's too much and you're not going to be able to do it. So anyway, those are just some things that for me I'm working on. And so for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to tell you a story from your body. Okay. So, and I'm hoping this will make some sense. So let's jump in. So just one quick thing as you come on, as you're watching, let me know if you're here live, replay. The last couple times what I have realized, so you'll probably hear me say this a couple times as we go through with Facebook, is it's not showing me when anybody is here. So if you guys don't comment, I don't even know that you're here. And I'm trying to keep an eye on my iPad. So if you do have questions, I can answer it. But I just now realized there was one thing I forgot to look up here, because there's a word that I always forget. Okay, how to pronounce. Because I don't say it very often. But anyway, so let's jump in. So this live goes out today to all my women who don't feel that breakfast is their strong suit. And again, if you've been in the group for any length of time, you know, I talk a lot about breakfast. I have been experimenting with breakfast for probably the last year or so to feel like I have gotten to a place where I'm really doing the best thing for my body. And it's been a lot of hit or miss, a lot of trial and error, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at now. Okay, so a lot of this is based on what I have learned too over the last year. So I want to talk about what's really happening when you don't have breakfast in the morning. Or maybe even you just give yourself a little bit of food. So I'm going to tell you this story from your body's point of view. So here is your body, right? Okay. Just spent hopefully at least 7 or 8 hours sleeping overnight, right? No food, no water, right? You've been fasting since whatever time your last meal was. I know for a lot of you, you like to put rules on yourself, so you stop eating at a certain time, right? So, but anyway, so here's your body, and it's gone all night. It's been doing its thing overnight, which your body does a lot of things overnight, and now it's waking up. And there are a few simple things really that your body needs after this time of rest and digestion and fasting. It needs water, it needs nutrition, it needs fuel, right? So this is what it needs to keep you feeling focused, to keep you feeling energized, and to keep your body functioning the way you want it to so that you feel your best. But here is how it goes for most people, right? So most of the women I talk to, instead of giving their body a pretty solid start to the day nutrition-wise, and again, not pointing fingers, this was me for a long time as well. But a lot of times we give it nothing, or we give it a few sips of water and some coffee, or we give it peanut butter toast, or we give it avocado toast, and we say, there you go, that should be enough. And then we expect to feel amazing and make great decisions and be full of energy all day long. And here's what's happening for your body. Your body's like, that's it? That's all I get? Where's my energy? Because here's what's going on. Ready? That body of yours, your cortisol is already high in the morning, right? That is when our cortisol rises, and that is what it's supposed to do. That is a normal part of our daily rhythm. That goes with our circadian rhythm. But when there's no food coming in to start to calm that cortisol response, it stays elevated. So now this body of yours is kind of like, okay, well now my cortisol is staying high. And this impacts everything from blood sugar to cravings, to moods, to belly fat storage, and to your ability to concentrate. Now, do you hear a lot of those things are also things that show up as a result of perimenopause, of menopause symptoms. And it doesn't just stop there. The elevated cortisol, right? It keeps your blood sugar higher, which over time can contribute to insulin resistance. And it's something so many women in perimenopause and even postmenopause are dealing with. And a lot of times, hello, PJ. A lot of times, insulin resistance can be the precursor towards diabetes, right? So we don't want that to be the case. And the less you eat early in the day, the more your body perceives stress. So from a biological standpoint, not enough food equals not safe, right? That is how your body reacts. So cortisol doesn't decline in the way it's supposed to. So now here's that body of yours, right? Now it's trying to conserve. It's trying to protect you because it's not safe. And in doing that, it starts to pull back on progesterone, right? Which widens the gap between estrogen and progesterone even more. Now, the gap between estrogen and progesterone is one of the things that makes our symptoms even worse. Never mind estrogen dominance. But estrogen ends up getting stored in fat storage. And now you've got inflammation, you've got more of a hormonal imbalance, and you've got that feeling of why is everything feeling harder than it used to? So now it's not just a fuel problem, right? Now it's not just a mood problem, it's a hormonal problem. Then we roll into lunch, okay? Maybe some women eat something. Maybe some women skip it in trying to conserve those calories. Maybe a lot of women are out there, I see this, trying to be good and grab a salad. Now, hopefully, that salad might have a little bit of protein on it, right? Some chicken, some tuna, some beans. But let's be honest, by 1 p.m. for most women, this body of yours has maybe had 25 grams of protein for the entire day. Okay? So here's this body saying, what the hell? Where's the rest? You want me to do all these things. I'm going through a lot when I'm going here in menopause, and I'm running on fumes. Now, fast forward 3, 4 in the afternoon. Maybe you're leaving work. Maybe you're on your way home. Maybe you thought you started the day thinking you'd go for a walk or you'd do a workout, or maybe just make you had an idea for like a healthy dinner, but you feel exhausted. You don't feel like doing any of it, right? You've lost your motivation. And it is not because you're lazy, and it is not because you don't have discipline, and it is not because you don't want it bad enough. It is because your body is whispering or maybe yelling, we don't have enough to give. You haven't given us what we need, right? Again, let's think about it. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if maybe you had a snack in the afternoon because you were really hungry, but probably because you were so hungry, your snack might have been like chips or chocolate or something to give you a quick fix, right? Because your body would be doing that. So now it's 4 in the afternoon and you're still sitting on only about 25 grams of protein for the day. Okay? And your poor body is like, hey, help me here. And what most women do They keep ignoring the signals, right? They just think it's menopause that's causing them to have no motivation, to not want to go for a walk, to not want to cook the healthy dinner. But here's how the rest of the day goes. By the time dinner hits, you're beyond starving, right? Or maybe you're snacking while you're cooking, right? Or maybe you eat everything on your plate, never once wondering if you're full, just cleaning the plate, and then you still want to eat something sweet, right? So maybe you're in the pantry at 9 p.m. because you've been behind the game all day. And as strong as you are, as the day goes on, your strength gets less and less, right? Your decisions, your ability to hold to something, your willpower gets less and less as the day goes on, right? So maybe you are raiding the pantry at 9 o'clock. Then you go to bed and we start this all over again. But here's the thing. You're waking up at 3 a.m. And you're gaining weight and feeling frustrated because nothing is working anymore. And you think it's a willpower problem. But what if it's none of that? What if it is just a fuel problem? So your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, don't stop working just because you're trying to eat less by skipping breakfast, right? They actually get louder. Ghrelin tells you to eat, leptin is supposed to tell you to stop. But when you are underfeeding in too much of a calorie deficit, right? I'm not saying that you don't need a calorie deficit to lose weight, but when you are skipping an entire meal, right? There's no comeback from that, you guys. So when you're underfeeding your body now at this stage that your body is at, the balance between leptin and ghrelin gets all messed up. You're already having a balance problem with progesterone and estrogen and testosterone. Now you're going to throw leptin and ghrelin into it, and then you got what we already talked about. When we skip these meals, you get your insulin out of balance, and it becomes this hormonal tug of war that started not because you're going through perimenopause specifically, but because you're not feeding your body what it needs. And the idea that we can just ignore our body like we did when we were younger is something that doesn't work once you hit perimenopause, right? Okay. Now, so your body now, it's trying to regulate ghrelin, leptin, insulin, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and all of it is tied to how you've nourished yourself throughout the day. And this is where it all starts to click in, right? So your elevated cortisol also blocks melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So if cortisol is still too high at the end of the day because you have been underfueled and your body, physiologically speaking, has not felt safe all day long because you're underfed, your cortisol will stay high, your melatonin cannot rise, which is going to make it even harder to stay asleep. And then even if you can fall asleep, your cortisol levels, your baseline was higher than it should have been. So when it starts to rise, what normally should wake you up around 5 or 6 instead is waking you up at 3 a.m. High cortisol keeps your blood sugar elevated, leading to more insulin resistance. Insulin resistance then feeds inflammation and makes it harder for your body to release fat. Low calories can mean low progesterone, so estrogen dominance increases. And estrogen dominance just means you're going to have more symptoms. Your body stays in a store mode, not a burn mode. And cravings ramp up because your body is just doing everything it can to try to get energy, and quick. So if you're wondering why you're wired but you're tired, why you feel restless at night, why you want to eat everything in sight by 8 p.m., by 9 p.m., or why you keep waking up at 3 a.m., it is probably not about discipline. It is probably not about motivation. It is about what your body has or has not been given all day long. Here is the wild part, right? So many women are doing this because they've heard that fasting is good for, gosh, this is the word that I have a mental block with. Where is it? How do you say it? Autophagy. I don't know why I find that word so hard. Right? That by skipping meals, you attain that, and that's a good thing. And that is intermittent fasting's claim to fame. And there is not a lot of science that backs it up, but that's a whole nother topic. And there might have been a time that your body could handle it. But for most women in midlife, the stress, the cortisol elevation of not actually eating enough outweighs any benefit you might have thought you were getting. Now, is this every single woman? No, but is it many of them? 99% that I've ever talked to. Why? Because now your hormones are different. Your hormones, your baselines are all different, and your hormones have a different tolerance level for what they will take. And they're much more sensitive, and they are speaking up, and you have to listen. So if you've been feeling like your energy crashes every afternoon, if you feel like you don't have the motivation at the end of the day to do the things you said you were going to do, or you feel like you can't stop snacking at night, or your body just doesn't seem to be responding the way it used to, I want you to start with this. I want you to ask yourself, am I feeding it enough early in the day? And am I giving it what it needs to feel safe, to feel energized, to feel steady, to feel fueled? It's not always about doing more, about exercising more, about eating less, but it is about doing what your body needs. Okay? It really has to be, whoops, I don't know where I got to here. Yeah. So I really want you to think about this. And I know for a lot of women, when you're tied to fasting, the idea of not doing it feels really scary. But I also know from my conversations with so many of you, you're not losing weight doing the fasting. And I've chatted with some and you're like, oh, it's just what we did for a while and we just keep doing it, right? My husband does it. But again, your body and your husband's body, two very different bodies. And it's just really good to know that, to know that if what you're doing is not working, now is the time to start experimenting. So if you think this could be you, start looking at what you're eating. How are you fueling your body? And it doesn't mean you need to do 6 meals. You got to start noticing. And if you say you're not hungry in the morning, that tells me that you have just gotten very, very skilled at not noticing hunger cues. Because there's no way possible that your body, after going 8, 9, 10 hours, doesn't need food, right? We don't go 8, 9, 10 hours throughout the day without needing food, right? You notice hunger, but we train ourselves and tell ourselves. I used to be so proud of how late in the day I could finally wait to start eating, long before intermittent fasting was a thing. It was just a bad way to lose weight. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It was what I considered an easy way to drop pounds when I was younger. But anyway, so if you're kind of confused, if you're like, I don't know if what I'm doing is working, I offer one-on-one consults so that I can look at you can tell me everything you're doing. I will give you my expert opinion. I would tell you where I would start if we were going to work together, what we would start with, what we would work on next, where we would go from there. And you get to walk away knowing what that is and deciding if you want to work with me or not. No big deal if you don't. But you've got to really start looking at everything you do is either helping your hormones or working against them. All of it. All right, you guys, let me know if you have questions. Let me know if this made sense. Let me know anything. I love feedback.